I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded today. Also pay respects to the elders past and present, and extend that respect to any other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people who may be listening today. This is Melanated in Melbourne, a podcast designed to give an insightful look into the Australian lifestyle from the lens of two Black American besties.
Hello and welcome back to Melanated in Melbourne. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Richard.
And today we have a wonderful special guest with us. This is a woman who I greatly admire and is very important in my life. She owns a fabulous salon called Elvies in Collingwood. My good friend, Ella Rowe.
Thank you so much.
Yay! Rashad pushed the button this time.
Well, it was just awkward silence. Like, you weren't even clapping, and we're like,
Yay!
all right then.
I know, I was like clapping under the table.
Yeah. We're going to get there one day.
We will iron out the kinks over time. So happy you could be here. Thanks for coming.
Oh, I am just excited to be a part of this, and I've heard a little bit about it from you when you're in the salon chair and
Yes.
just following your journey as well with your acting career as well as this, and just being updated with all of the things that you're doing. I just couldn't wait to be a part of it.
Oh my
so thank
God.
you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, this is so wonderful. And we are going to be discussing the topic of hair. When it comes to hair, it's such a loaded topic. When I was moving to Australia, the first thing everybody would ask me was, who is going to do your hair? And it was definitely something I feared, but I was like, well, I'm not going to not move to a place because I don't know who's going to do my hair. So it was definitely a journey on its own. But enough about me. How about you, Ella? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your salon.
So I am a proud Wamiran woman. That is the name of our village in Papua New Guinea. It's called Wamira. I always start with that because growing up here in Australia, I arrived here when I was 3. I was raised in a household that was very passionate about our culture, our roots, like where we come from. And a big part of what grounds us at Elvies Studios is lifting from our roots. So, yeah, who are we? And I guess being mixed with white Australian, I have really grappled with that in terms of having internal racism, feeling frustrated and embarrassed almost at the history of Australia and how my white Australian side was a part of that history. And I guess growing up and maturing as a woman and realising even my parents' story, my father going to Papua New Guinea as a teacher, my mum being a younger woman, and then my mum coming back to Australia with him. There's a lot there, and I guess that all of that and all of those experiences are a part of why I do what I do and how I do it. I am a mother of a 21-month-old baby girl.
Gosh,
Kemiana.
Yes. Shout out to Kemiana.
Shout out my baby, my toddler. I can't call her my baby. She's my toddler now.
Oh my God.
And she's the light of our lives, and she is also so much a part of the world at Elvies. Funnily enough, I'm proud to say that I'm starting to see her hair curl.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be so exciting, I'm sure.
Yes.
This literally happened this morning.
Oh my gosh, this
Like
morning.
I saw her
this is
curls
like
and
brand
I was
new.
like, Will, our baby's hair is curling.
Oh,
so there's a
that's
bit
so
of a
great.
backstory. He's Australian Filipino. And so they're, I guess, in his family, I can't speak for the whole culture, but there's some wavy hair. And then my mum has an afro. I named my salon after my mother, Elvie.
Yes.
I named it Elvies because she is my favourite person in the world.
Oh,
and
she's so wonderful.
Yeah, she's...
Shout out to Elvie. Shout out to Mom.
Shout out to my mummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still my mum. You know, I'm 39, but she still raises me every day.
Oh, of course. That job don't stop.
It doesn't. And I also designed my business around how my mum could be a part of it and be there. And she was the first person that I saw care for hair in our home. And her hair was so much a part of her identity here in Australia. And she experienced a lot of racism because of it. And she raised me and my brother in the same way to be proud of where we come from, and gave us the tools and the skills and the self-confidence and the self-awareness to be able to walk through the world with our crowns and be really fierce about it, because I think that, yeah, she knew from the beginning that she was going to have to nurture that, being so far away from home.
Totally. Yeah.
And I guess back home, she and her sisters, she was one of 10, they would all look after each other's hair, you know. They would oil each other's scalps, and they would wash each other's hair, and they'd plait each other's hair and massage each other's hair. And so, yeah, I guess when she was trying to work out my hair, because it was a different texture to hers, we had our own story, the two of us. I was a gymnast when I was a kid, and there was one time when I had a gymnastics competition, and I wanted my hair back smooth, like, you know, when girls with straight hair put their hair in a slick back.
Totally, like a ballerina
It's
kind
no
of
problem, you know what I mean? They just comb it back and it's slick. And I was like, what are these bumps? There's bumps. I don't like the bumps, Mum. I don't like the bumps.
no.
And my mum combed my hair back, literally gave me a facelift. I swear.
that bun
my
was
hairlines.
tight. Oh, my Lord.
Like there was.
Oh, no.
I was like, is my hair still attached? Like, and I remember crying in the car on the way to the gym comp because I was like, my hair hurts, my hair. And my mum was like, well, you asked for it. You wanted it tight. I gave you tight. But anyway, I'm proud to be the owner of Elvies Studios. I always go back to the pillars of our business, which are lifting from the roots. And it's also about disrupting, decolonizing, hydrating and moisturizing.
Period. Those are the words on the wall at Elvies. She reminds you. Just thank you for telling us all of that first off.
Absolutely.
But I just wanted to talk about how black hair is such a cultural experience. And it's very much a part of us. Whereas like some people, they have like a disconnection from their hair. It doesn't really necessarily have the same weight. But for us, it is a part of who we are and our identity, and we are treated a certain way because of our hair.
Absolutely.
So when I was really young, I had a really thick, coarse texture of hair. And then my mom would try to do my hair, and I was going to daycare with my eyes red and swollen from crying because she would try to do my hair in the morning. It felt like it hurt. And so people were questioning what my mom was doing because I was showing up to daycare upset. And so she was just like, I have to figure out what to do. So I ended up getting a relaxer I may have been 4 years old. I don't even think I was 5. But I understand why my mother did that in the long run. She was just trying to make things easier for her, make things easier for myself. So I understand why she made that decision, and ultimately had a relaxer from all the way up until I was, oh God, I don't even know what age I was, but I remember the year was 2016 when I kind of realized I think I'm going to be moving out of the country soon. I know I'm probably not going to be able to get a relaxer in Australia, so I'm going to try and just start my natural hair journey and take care of it that way. So I was probably natural for like 2 years before moving to Australia. But at that point in time, I had a salon that I was going to in New Jersey. They were able to take care of my hair. But moving to Australia, I had to start everything over again from scratch. So I was having to take care of my hair myself, which was okay. But then once we went into lockdown and that was placed firmly on my shoulders, it was like, girl, I don't have another wash day in me. Like, there were times I'd be like, I gotta wash my hair. I don't want to do this shit no more. Arms tired, just shoulders burning from having to lift your hands and get to the back. For those who don't have natural hair texture, it's a beautiful thing, but it is a process to take care of. And there is a certain format that you have to follow in order to take care of it. And I was so grateful when you came into my life in 2021 because it felt like the responsibility was shared. Whereas I did not feel like I could go to another salon here because I know there's some people going to be listening to this being like, well, why didn't you just go to another salon, Nicole? I wasn't going to walk into a place because I was filled with such anxiety because I knew that I would have to go in, encounter the look of them just being like, oh, yeah, I don't know what to do with this. This looks complicated. And then having to explain and then having to apologize and then having to walk them through the whole process. And it was just... It was going to be too much for me, so I'll just have to take care of this myself. But when I walked into your salon and I saw them words of lift from the roots, decolonize, hydrate on the wall, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm in the right place. And all the stress just fell away from me. It melted away because I knew I was like in the right place, who just didn't see my hair as a burden. Yeah, I guess that's literally the word. It felt like a burden that I was having to share with someone, but with you, it feels like a gift that we get to take care of together. So I was really, really grateful.
I just love hearing that. You know what? It can sometimes feel somewhat overwhelming, but also super satisfying when every client that comes through the door has a story like that.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter where in the diaspora you're from, whether you are Palestinian with curls and you wear hijab, or you're Tongan with really long, coarse, thick, curly hair, or you're a Papua New Guinean whose heritage is mixed like mine and your hair's somewhere in between. Everyone shares this same experience of anxiety.
Yes.
And of isolation and of feeling shame that they
shame,
can't.
yes,
feeling
that
shame.
is the word, because everything is built for this one lens of what hair is supposed to look like, and it's like supposed to be long and flowy and silky. And then when you have something that is curly, coarse, it has to be in a certain way in order to be accepted. It just puts this level of stress and anxiety on you because you just feel it's the pressure to always be presentable.
Yeah.
At all times. And how exhausting is that?
Yes.
How
absolutely.
exhausting is that?
And so that's what I've tried to focus on for the last 3 years of the business, is to nurture and to create community and to connect and to offer a safe space and to simplify the process of caring for our own hair and to teach people how to touch their own hair.
Oh, yeah.
To teach people or to support people to change the narrative, literally change the words that we use about our hair.
Oh, that is such a great point. Yeah, that is a part of it because that's how we're encountered in the real world. I will never forget when somebody was just like, oh, your hair is just wild. Oh, it's so wild. Like,
cringy.
yeah,
You're right.
Yeah, and it's just, okay, like I know that's a microaggression. I know that's not a compliment. And even though they may actually admire it and they're maybe trying to say something nice, it's not a nice comment.
It just lacks awareness
And
on
care.
their part. And in some ways, I feel like it is based in a jealousy.
Call it out. I know that's right.
I like it.
I know that's right.
You know, they see different or something other than what they are.
As
They
a
might
threat,
not understand it and they see it as a threat. And,
Yeah.
you know, I saw it in the mums in my primary school when they saw my mum arrive. You know, my mum come bouncing through the door, beautiful brown skin woman,
Beautiful.
black woman, curls, afro perfectly shaped, never a little afro hair out of place.
Never.
Like this woman wore her afro like a crown, you know?
Yes.
And proud of it. But also it was more than just her physical appearance. It was her aura, her energy,
The way she carried herself.
the way she carried herself. It just caused those who had insecurities and those who did suffer from their own sort of self-hatred to turn around and hate us more.
Yeah. Haters gonna hate.
Haters going to
Yeah.
hate. But when the broader mentality of society is leaning towards or guided by this European standard of beauty like you're talking about, then of course we're going to be treated like that. And I went through experiences of being patted, you know?
OMG.
Yeah.
People touching your hair unprompted, like just... I could not understand how people will just go, like, do you touch strangers? I personally do not.
I never do.
No.
And like the amount of times that I've grabbed someone's hand reaching out to touch Nicole's hair, like on instinct, I'll be not it's like, nope.
Yes, thank you.
Who are you?
Thank you. And it's so appreciated because I understand it's coming from a place of curiosity. I can understand that, but still, why do people feel this need to like touch it? I don't get it.
Well, again, I think it's rooted in racism, in otherness, entitlement, patriarchy, colonization, like name it all. My last incident that occurred was here in Melbourne at the Toft, I think it was, and I was at the bar and I had somebody come and grab my hair and I turned around and grabbed hers.
I mean, fair is fair.
I'm telling you, the look on her face, she was like, I'm making a really ugly face right now.
Yeah.
Like she
Like
was
shock and awe. But isn't that funny because you're literally doing the same action that
Literally.
she did to you.
Literally.
But it was as soon as you grabbed her, she realized how fucked this is.
Absolutely.
How ridiculous the behavior is.
Absolutely. And she felt violated. So her friend came over and he was wearing a hat and he called me out. Like he tried to accost me. He was like, what are you doing? Why did you grab her hair like that? And I said, she grabbed my hair first.
Yeah.
I just grabbed hers back.
Yeah. Correct.
And he said, well, you shouldn't have da-da-da. So I took his hat off and I grabbed his head as well. And I said I grabbed his head because he had no hair. My hand slipped straight off his bald head. And I was like, oops. I didn't realize he didn't have hair under the hat. But,
I know that's right, though, because it's really like, do not do something to someone else that you do not want done to yourself.
Absolutely.
There's probably a better way to say that, but that's really what it is.
Literally, though, but like, especially just touching a stranger makes no sense to me in general. Like, even like people walk up and rub my head. I'm like, what did you think? What? Yeah, I don't know where your dirty ass hand has been. Don't touch me.
Think
Like,
some magic's going to happen.
Right.
Their dream's going to come true.
the only drink that we're gonna get is a fist in the face. Like, I don't understand. 'Cause Nicole is far nicer than I am. If someone violates my space or comes to talk to me or touch me, I'm like, I don't know you. Please back up. Like, I don't. We're not doing this. I don't.
Like, respect people's space. Respect people's agency. It just doesn't make sense. I'm curious about this thing, so I'm going to put my hands on it right away. It legitimately makes no sense. Zero.
And I'm now thinking about the impact that it has on us, that sort of treatment,
yeah.
and how we then have to turn around and become people we might not necessarily want to be. But again, like, because we've been violated in those ways, we have our backup. And so when my clients come through the door, the first 5 minutes is integral for me.
Yeah.
Because that's me being able to prove to them that I can be trusted.
Yes. Yes.
And I've had to do that over and over and over again. And I will continue to. And I'm okay with that. I've been able to create an Elvies way of doing hairdressing. And now we're actually on the 23rd of October doing our first education.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's so brilliant.
Shout that out. Give us all the
my
details.
gosh, yes.
So I've decided to call my education program Learn Elvies.
Great.
Because I want to talk about learning, learn the Elvies consultation, learn Elvies hair care routine, learn Elvies.
Are the products going to be there?
We're getting there. We're getting there on the products.
All right. No, because the products that she uses in this salon, let me put y'all on. They're good. They have my hair feeling so soft, cleanse, moisturize, rather than having to use 7 products or something like that, which is real.
And that was the other part that I was going to mention, is that I think what I'm now noticing after 3 years is that the products are such an integral part of the process. And when the products are good, and if the routine is maintained, not too strict. I'm not trying to do the curly girl method here. I'm not trying to institutionalize everyone. I think it's important to have some flexibility and to adapt it to your lifestyle and to adapt it to your mood and your energy and maybe what sort of support and help you might have around you. I guess that's the other thing, is I'm trying to encourage people, families, people in relationships, people in friendships, to be able to support each other in the hair journey as well.
That. Yes.
And that it can become something, because that's the other thing I feel that is cultural that I notice here that's not so much done. And maybe it was done in the past, but, maybe with straight hair, you'd be brushing each other's hair. Maybe that was something they did in the 17th century. I don't know if they still do it anymore. They're sitting at home brushing their hair from top to bottom in front of the mirror for each other. But for us, how can we make the hair care more manageable for that person? I mean, I've heard you say a few times there at the beginning when you were introducing or reflecting on your personal journey, you talked about having to do your hair yourself. And culturally, and it's in many cultures, we don't do our hair by ourselves.
We don't.
It's like postpartum after you have a baby, like I've gone through.
Come on,
you don't go through these things alone. And so we're starting to try to encourage that sort of culture around hair. And
I love that.
Yeah, and like you just said, simplifying. I say to my clients often, that the products have been introduced to you now. You don't have to buy anything today, but when you finish the bottle, throw it out. And circle back round and invest in this product. And you don't need to use a lot of it. And you don't need to apply it every single day.
Yeah.
You can cast your hair on wash day, and then you can let it do its thing and just hydrate it with a moisture spray each day, and then maybe rinse it all out on Wednesday, on hump day, after you've washed it on Sunday, and then push that product, that second cast through until, when I'm talking about casting hair, I mean like putting product in your hair and styling it, whichever way you choose to style it. Teaching those little tips around how to make your product last as well.
Oh, I love that. And for the listeners who may not completely understand what it is that we're talking about, the time that we were growing up in the 90s, just coming out of the 80s, it was all about the pressed iron hair, the straight kind of look and everything. Just like relaxing is literally breaking the protein of the hair in order to make it straight. For those who don't know, relaxer is like a chemical that you put in your hair to take the kink or the curl out of your hair so it is just straight.
Damaging.
Like it can't be, it's literally breaking. And it can't be reversed. The only way to reverse it is by literally cutting it out of your head and not getting it done again. And I was coming up through this age, I guess maybe it was 2010s. I guess that was the decade that Black women were just like, hang on, why am I relaxing my hair to braid my hair up, to put it in a weave, to be seen as respectable? What does this have to do with anything? Nobody else has to go through this level of acceptance and assimilation, and it just felt ludicrous because we're doing all this stuff and we're still getting treated like shit. So what's the point in doing all this stuff? It's not making a difference. So I just started noticing more on Twitter and more on YouTube that girls were just like, I'm starting my natural hair journey, which is just growing out the relaxer and then taking care of my natural hair. This sounds like, well, how would you not know how to take care of your natural hair? I went through 2 decades, almost 3 decades of life of not even knowing what my natural hair texture was and not knowing what it looked like all the way grown out because I got relaxers from such a young age. So the education, we were all just trying to figure out, we're like, all right, we doing this. Okay, what kind of comb you using? All right, what kind of brush you using? What kind of product are you using? I didn't even know what kind of curl pattern I had. And it was just all these women trying to figure these things out at the same time. And thank God for the internet and women uploading videos on YouTube and being like, all right, girl, this is what I'm doing. I have to part it into 4 sections. I wash and condition each section because I was noticing when I was trying to wash my own hair and trying to wash it like it was in the shampoo commercials. And I just like stand in the shower and I got the water on my head. And then I'm like, put the shampoo in and I'm going like this and I'm scratching. I'm like, all right, here we go. And the shit was knotting and matting up and just making more work for myself. And then I had to go to work the next morning and you're just panicked because once again, if I don't look presentable, what's going to happen to me? How am I going to be treated? I'm going to be told I'm like unprofessional or something when it has nothing to do with the work. So I think that's so wonderful that you're introducing an education aspect of your business. I think that's so smart and so helpful. That's so communal.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, because like my history is in education. When I first left high school, I went into a teaching degree, but I had itchy feet and I was like, I don't need to be in here yet.
Oh my God, I thought you meant actual itchy feet.
Oh, sorry.
I also thought that as well.
Sorry,
like, okay.
Maybe that's Australian colloquial like term, but it's like you're kind of like can't sit still.
I have heard that.
Itchy feet. You're like, I need to do something different, So
okay, cool.
I went into makeup artistry.
Oh,
because I loved art, and deep down I wanted to be an artist when I left high school. Like I was painting and doing all the different things, and I loved theatre, and I was always performing, but then backstage doing everybody's hair and makeup before we'd perform. Then I started getting a reputation for doing hair ups, and so in high school I used to do all the girls' hair for their formals. I literally was like an entrepreneur. I'd go round to their house, I'd get them ready for the formal, they'd pay me cash, money in the pocket, off I went. Say hi to the brothers and then go home.
We love that, yes.
I went to a girls' school, so I was like, you got brothers. But it was so funny. But yeah, so that led into makeup artistry. And then while I was there, they were all talking about how you need to be able to do hair to be able to work freelance. And I was like, okay. So I went into hairdressing as sort of like a mature apprentice, which I really, really loved. But that then turned into working in the hairdressing industry for a while, musical theatre, that came next, and then going into TAFE, so teaching hair for first-year hairdressing apprentices.
Cool. Yeah.
So teaching what they called at that time dress and style. I'm not sure if they call it that now. But nowhere in the education was anything beyond a kind of like a Goldilocks curl.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the only thing they taught us was to scrunch and diffuse. That was as far as a curl.
That was it.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy because people have, everyone has different textures of hair. Not everybody's going to have like bone straight hair.
And the whole time I think to myself,
crazy.
and look, I really can't put myself back there in terms of how I identified, but I know I was standing there with dry, frizzy, and frizzy not being a bad thing, but just big, dry, frizzy hair, and nobody was talking about it in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it was like, oh my God, Ella, look at your hair. But that's sort of where the conversation ended. But anyway, I swung out of that space and into education because I became a bit of an advocate for the students. They were coming to me with a lot of fear and anxiety around working with clients, and they weren't being guided and supported by the other staff in the school. And so I kind of became like a well-being teacher, which is funny because all of these experiences are what Elvies is about.
Yes.
You know? So I actually, I'm pausing because I just had an experience in the hairdressing industry where I was invited to an event called Disrupting the Hairdressing Industry.
Nice. Okay.
And it was incredibly triggering. I went to this event. It was quite fancy. I'm not going to name any names or say where it was because I don't want anybody to get their knickers in a knot, which might be another Aussie colloquial term.
I know. I've heard British
You've
people
heard
say that one.
British one. Yeah, British
Yeah.
one. And cut a long story short, I sat on the stage and wasn't introduced until it was my turn to speak, which was halfway through the event. So for an hour and a half, I sat up alongside the panellists who had been introduced and the breath worker next to me who had been introduced, but I hadn't been.
Okay.
And I called out the MC.
I know
Good.
that's right. Good for you, babe.
And 2 weeks later, she sent me a message saying that she'd been hurt by that.
But
Was she? Should I? I don't. I'm not going to ask. I already know.
She's what
you already know. We already know.
You know.
Yeah.
And I just said to her, well, you'll need to speak to the organisers because I have nothing to do with that. And when you MC an event, you need to understand what topics you're going to be discussing.
Yeah.
And if there is trauma involved, you need to be trauma informed.
Yeah.
And also you're being yourself. You're not acting, you know, in those scenarios. And there was a level of like disrespect and a level of like humanity she didn't show me.
Yeah.
She should have.
Yeah.
And she might be young, but that's a good learning, opportunity for her. But
Correct.
before I spoke, I had a couple, they had been my students. So I had a couple of who are now business owners come to me at that event and say, Ella, I'm not sure if you remember me, but you taught me.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
And they said, I was going through a really hard time with my employee and everything, and coming to TAFE and seeing you, like you really supported me. Tears were falling.
Oh.
And I was just like, whoa. It was just one of those moments where I was like, I am exactly where I need to be.
Girl,
like
yes.
all of these challenges, all of this disrupting that I'm now doing in the industry, I was disrupting that event by being there, and the things that I said really ruffled feathers and got people alert because I spoke very openly about how racist and segregated the hairdressing industry is.
It is, yes.
And our, the fact that as hairdressers we need to really identify what our role is in community and in society, and that if you're unable to provide a service and a safe place for everybody in the community,
everyone,
then you're not leveling up, and you need to.
Yep.
But in saying that, then with all the education talk that I'm speaking of, I need to write that education, and I need to do it in my way because I've seen other curl education being done and it's not the way I do it. And so,
it's not inclusive.
No, for me,
it's not inclusive. Sorry to cut you off,
No,
but
you're right.
it's like I've seen other businesses here in Melbourne who've built their identity under being like, we love curly hair and we do curly cuts and everything like that, but then somebody walks in with afro hair and they don't know what to do with it. They got no clue.
And they also haven't, like, the part for me that's really important is having an anti-racist approach to hairdressing and being able to have discussions and introduce the idea of critical thinking in hairdressing, like being aware of social politics, having a bit of knowledge around like people's stories, where they've come from, what they've gone through, maybe some cultural hair awareness. I always ask my clients if they want to take their hair home with them, because for a lot of cultures, trusting me with their hair is huge.
Yeah.
We obviously provide hijab haircuts.
Oh, see, I love that. I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
It's so easy to do. You have blinds, you pull the blinds down when they arrive, and you just make sure there are no men in the space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not that fucking hard.
It isn't. It isn't.
You
But
know?
it's like, but that kind of care and consideration isn't given.
It's not given. It's not encouraged. And so at that event, a girl stood up with tears in her eyes and she was just like, I'm Muslim. My boyfriend's Asian. He struggles to find places where he can get his hair done.
Wow.
And all of my family members who wear hijab don't have a hairdresser. You know, she was like, thank you, Ella. And I was like, I'm tripping, right? Because I'm thinking, how's this shit not so fucking obvious?
Yeah, how is it not?
It makes me angry because I'm like, I'm embarrassed actually to be standing up here in front of all of you people telling you these things that for me should be a no fucking brainer.
It really should. It should be. If everything is fair and equal as everyone says that it is, and they say that this country is, then it should be fair and equal opportunity for everyone to get their services done. Yeah, it is no brainer, but these people don't think outside of what it is that they know, and they just figure, well, I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to do it.
I mean,
and they don't even try.
Look at the referendum.
It's laziness.
Well, the referendum.
The referendum is such a
my God, giant misstep.
And it's so symbolic
Yep.
of everything that falls beneath this government and this society and the way that this society runs. Oh, I don't know about that. I'm just going to say no.
Yeah, if you don't know, vote no. That was just so upsetting.
Yeah.
Inform yourself.
Correct.
Open your eyes to society. But the thing is, we live in silos. And that's where I think the change needs to happen.
Yes.
In face-to-face connection.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel rich. You know, I struggle to pay rent every month, not going to lie, but 2024 is going to be a different year for me because I'm going to charge for my education. Like
I know that's right.
I'm going to charge for that shit.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to start living the life that I deserve and also providing myself with the rest that I don't even know how to have right now. Like I struggle to stop and rest.
Yeah.
Because I've just spent 3 years on a treadmill. You know, I'm glad that each day I did it in a conscious way. I don't book myself 8 clients in a day. Like I book myself 4. Yeah. And in between I go and cuddle my baby and feed her and chill with my mum and gossip, you know, like, you know, so
scheduling those breaks. Absolutely.
I haven't been crazy, but I've also been crazy because like I didn't have a proper maternity leave and blah, blah, blah. So I just want to design my life a bit better, but I need money to do that.
Correct.
So on that day at that event, I said, where are the brands coming to me? The only person who's doing this work the way that I'm doing it, where are you guys to support me?
Yeah.
Everyone in this room, speaking of all those white hairdressers and European hairdressers, get support and training.
Without asking.
They probably pay for it, but I'm just saying that
the opportunity is brought.
That's the industry.
Yes.
They're supported.
Yes.
I said, I'm not. So I had a rep from one of the big brands come to me.
Oh, great.
And because I said, come and offer me some stuff. Like, I want this shit.
Yeah. I'm here. The service is here.
Help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't ask, you don't get. So they did.
Correct.
So now I'm going to like write my little wish list.
Yeah.
Now that I've got a chance to think about what I really want.
Good.
Yep.
And one of those things is to be flown to the States to do some professional development.
Oh, I love that.
And link up with the same, they talk about being multinational. We've got our brand everywhere in every city. Okay, send me to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Put me in that room and give me some loctician training.
Yes, correct.
Get me in there with some hairdressers who do curliage and give me those skills and I'll come back and I'll train everyone.
Yeah,
and I'll do it well because I'm also a fucking educated. I'm an educator. Yeah, I have a degree in it. I'm not a hairdresser who got sick of working on the floor and I might do education now. Or I'm not a hairdresser who won a fucking 100 awards for being good at cuts and colour. I'm actually good at people.
Yes.
I'm not just good at hair.
Very.
Give me that fucking value.
Yeah, no, because you have the passion for it. It's not like, oh, this is just something I'm doing to just pass the time or anything like that. No. There's a fire in your belly about it. And
let's grow an industry.
Totally.
Like that.
Correct. Because especially if they're saying that they're like, we want to be more diverse, because that's the big buzzword and stuff. Like, we want to be more diverse in our approach and we want to be more inclusive. All right, then do the work. Get the education. Get somebody to come in. Like,
make some space.
Actually try.
Don't just say, a fucking opportunity.
Give an opportunity. Don't just say, well, we're trying. Do.
So do what I ask of you.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you what I need. And then you're going to make it happen for me.
Yeah. And then just going back to what you said about the hair and makeup in the entertainment industry, because as an actress myself, the stuff that I've had to encounter being a Black actor, and they know who I am when I've booked the job. They see me, they see I'm Black, they see I have a different texture of hair. But it would be common sense to hire a makeup artist who is familiar and has the colors in their range.
And the hair products.
And the hair products.
skills.
And the hair tools and the hair skills. Because when I first came here, I always hid my curls under a wig. Because I figured, well, that's the way I'm going to get through this experience here in Australia. I'm just going to wear a wig. I will just take care of my natural hair at home. But when I go out into the world, I'm just going to have on, the bob straight wig. This is all very vulnerable to talk about, but it is what it is. I would go to these jobs and you see the other girls walk in and you get your call time, you show up and you're just a blank canvas. All you have to do is have your hair washed and your face naked, and then they're going to do everything else for you. Before every job, the night before, I'm straightening my own wig because I know that 99.9% of the time, I'm going to walk in there and the makeup artist is going to be like, I've never worked with the wig before. Or I don't know what you guys want me to do with this. And I would feel mortified and embarrassed. And so I was just like, well, I'm just going to remove that anxiety by just doing it myself.
As well as prepare for your job.
And prepare for my job. It's so much.
The only thing those other performers have to think about.
That's all they have to think about.
How they're going to act.
Yeah. And then, exactly. And I'm worried about so much more because I'm like, I don't know what the setup is going to be when I go in there, and I don't know what kind of situation I'm going to encounter. And if that's a negative encounter, that's going to put me off my game.
Absolutely.
For my job, because I'm going to be inside of my head and I'm going to be like, I can't think straight. There's a certain makeup artist. They're my very first makeup artist for the very first job that I ever booked. And the thing that they said to me when I got into their chair was that I've never worked on someone who has such dark skin as you. That was the first thing that they said. And let's get clear, I do not view dark skin as a bad thing or any way, shape, or form, but that is not the correct
It's not the language you use.
Yeah, it's not the correct language. It's not the correct categorization to use. And what does that have to do with anything? You're here to do a job. You're here to provide a service. How are you going to be a professional makeup artist and you don't know how to do makeup on all skin tones? Yeah. It made no sense. So I went in there completely trusting that they were going to figure it out. They did not. They mixed together a few shades of their own. They were like, well, I'm going to have to mix to figure it out. And they took the deepest shade that they had and they took the lightest shade that they had and they were mixing it together. Didn't take into account undertones of like cool colors, warm colors. And when you mix those two together, it creates gray. Mm-hmm. So when I ended up seeing my face at the end and I was the main presenter for this thing, I was horrified. I was so horrified. I was like, I don't even know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I ended up performing the job to the best of my ability, but I look at that footage and I'm like, I can't even share this. I can't even look at myself. I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed. And I couldn't say anything to anyone, or at least I felt that way. Mm-hmm. I had every thought in my mind to be like, well, I'm just going to write the production company and be like, hey, I would love to work with you guys again, but I can't work with this makeup artist. And I would have been well within my right, but everything within this industry and this job is about relationships.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as you get the label of difficult, as soon as you get that label, yeah, it just adds a whole unnecessary thing to it. And I've had to work with this artist a few other times, and it may be passive aggressive. When I see their name on the call sheet, I show up with my makeup done.
Good.
I show up with my face done.
And
I shouldn't have to, but I was like, that's the security that I have to give myself so I can do my job. But I even remember another time, and this was the thing that I was like, this is the last time I'm wearing a wig. This is the last time I'm wearing a wig for a shoot. I was getting ready to go on camera. It was a big shoot. It was a lot of people, a lot of extras. I'm not the main person, but I'm one of the main cast members. I come in, makeup done, wig done, sit in their chair, and they're just like, oh, God, you didn't even try and glue down your wig today. I can see this lace. It's so obvious. And they're saying this loudly, and I'm just like, okay, well, then do something about it. Do what you need to do. And they kept spraying and then putting powder on the lace, and it became very obvious that they didn't know what they were doing when all they had to do was like hit it a couple times with some hairspray just to make it lay down and get a comb and just press it, or a headband. Yeah, very simple. And then by the time they were done, it looked like a Rice Krispie treat on top of my head. And it was like, I know, that's like the worst. Not to laugh. I don't know, but it was like, it looked crazy. It looked crazy. And I was sitting there at the table, and I'm there with my friend Stefan, who's another actor. Shout out to Stefan. He and I have done a couple commercials together, and I really love him. He always gives me love, always gives me support. He's a very good friend. And he was just looking at me, and he was just like, I may be overstepping right now, but you got to fix it before we go on camera. And I know he was just saying that as I'm a friend. I'm telling you, you need to go say something, and gave me that nudge, that push. And then I got up, and that makeup artist was talking to the director, and I walked over, and I was like, you need to fix this. And I went back to sit in the chair. And then she was like, oh, well, I told you I didn't know what I was doing. I told you I'm not really used to doing wigs. Then why did you touch it? Then why did you do it? You could have left it alone. But from that point on, I was like, I'm not dealing with this insecurity anymore. I can't. I'm just going to come to these jobs. I'm going to just present myself as I am, because you know who I am before I get there. Mm-hmm. You know what kind of hair, you know what kind of skin I have. You know all of this.
Yep. And it's the production that aren't doing the work to ensure they have the right people there.
Correct.
And it's them also calling people that they have worked with before. You know, it's the club.
Yeah.
Again, which is all founded in racism. That's the way I see it. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get my friend to do it because I know my white friend can do it. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that story as well.
Thank you.
It's vulnerable.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
And it gets me really fired up because I've worked in musical theatre and also everybody should understand the emotional impact that it has on the performer. Somebody has to actually step in front of a screen or in front of
and be perceived.
And and like, again, that shouldn't be your problem. The behavior of that makeup artist is, like you just said, it's their anxiety. You know, they're trying to protect themselves and their feelings, and they feel stupid. But at the end of the day, I think that it's the production's fault. These stories are the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm working really hard to be able to have these conversations with these sorts of hair and makeup artists and freelance people in the industry, because they will come to an event or education like I was at a couple of weeks ago. This was a different curly hair education, and they're talking about the models and how rude they were. And I stand up for them and I say, no, we can understand why these people are feeling the way that they're feeling, and we need to be sensitive and understand that. And like you just said, if you don't know how to do something, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because you're violating them and their bodies, and you're actually re-traumatizing them.
Yeah.
And this is why I think that the education has to be done properly. Because if you don't do it properly, you've got people coming in saying, oh, I did a 1-day course in curly hair and I've got the brush.
Oh, no.
I saw a doctor movie once. I can do open heart surgery.
No.
Like,
exactly.
I watched an episode of Grey's Anatomy.
It's like 15 seasons. I can do it.
Like,
Let me in there. Foolishness, absolutely.
And I just want to circle back to saying that it is founded in racism, and it is because they get their friends in, and the friends are coming from the same mentality, institutionalized energy, and none of them are thinking critically, which is why I want these ways of thinking to be integrated into the training, because they're not thinking beyond the technical act of doing what they're doing because they've never had to.
They've never had to.
Or wanted to.
Yes, correct.
So now it's like, you can't actually pass Elvies training until I've assessed you.
Oh, I love that.
And that assessment's going to happen down the track. So you're going to do the education, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to assess whether you're competent or not.
I love that, because yesterday I was working a short film, and the makeup artist that I had yesterday, Emily Stacy, who is actually a makeup artist that was trained by you. Yes, hair and makeup artist that was trained by you, and it was the most comforting experience, because she had literally washed my hair at Ella's salon. She's like, hopefully we run into each other at some point in time. And so I ended up working with her yesterday, and it was the most comforting experience, just knowing I could just walk in, knowing I wasn't going to have any crazy questions, no crazy commentary, nothing about, oh, what am I supposed to do with your hair? These twists, like, what is this? None of that. She was like, read your script, go over your lines, get into character, put in your headphones if you need. I'm going to take care of all of this.
She's a professional.
She is a professional. Shout out to M. Shout out to her.
Shout out. And she's not a black woman.
No, she's not.
She doesn't have curly hair.
Sure doesn't.
Her hair's kind of wavy. But she cared enough.
She sure does.
To come and to respectfully enter the Elvies space. She built healthy relationships with all of us.
Yes.
She met you and other clients. And she does everything consciously. And this is the thing that I'm talking about.
Oh, that is a beautiful word. Yes.
And I love hearing that. And I
Yes.
love Emily. And it's great that we're speaking on some positive terms.
Yes, of course.
Because,
of course.
you know, Nasal's out there as well, just doing beautiful work.
I know Nasal.
You know Nasal?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so fabulous. I love him.
So when
I
you
love
said
him,
that, I was like, I
love him.
wonder if this is the same studio because I was going to look it up, but I have bad reception here. But yeah.
Yeah. So Nasal spent a lot of time with us as well and
Yes.
learnt how to care for hair doing my mum's afro. And my mum loves Nasal.
Yes,
She
love.
just loves him. Yeah, those two people are examples of their positive outcomes of experiences at Elvies that were not even formalized education. It was just learning from being in the space.
Yes.
Opportunities were given. They worked for me. I paid them, of course. Nasal tried to volunteer for a long time. And I was like,
Nasal, baby.
you're here all the time.
All
like,
the time.
I need to pay you.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm getting education for free from you.
Yeah.
I know. I love
Sweet
you so
pea.
much, Nasal.
He was always so gentle in his approach when he would wash my hair as well. And then again,
We
just
had to
being
teach him to be a bit
yeah.
rough.
Yeah. He was
Like,
so
come on,
gentle.
baby, your hands
And I'm
are too
like,
soft.
That's all right. I was
Get
like,
in there.
go ahead, make some suds. You know, go ahead, bust a bubble. We don't care. Do what you need to
love
do. But it just goes to show you how this education is so important and that it positively impacts the industry.
Yes.
And I've seen it in real time.
I love to hear
So
it.
yeah, so thank you for the work that you've been doing.
Thank
It's
you.
so appreciative.
I can't do what I'm doing without loyal clientele and people who believe in the vision as well. You know,
Yes.
it does take a village. It does take all of us. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for my clients. And I love
Yes.
my clients. And there's
Yes.
never a day that I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I have to go to work.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love
good.
my space and I love the work that I do, and my clients heal me and we heal each other, and I only see beautiful things continue to happen and people keep coming through the doors that are giving me
Yeah.
opportunities. And it's amazing what manifestation can do, and when you have
Oh,
a vision.
absolutely.
And I think that the more I do what I do and the more that I work and the more that things progress and evolve, the more I realize or truly believe in destiny. Because I feel like everything that happened to me guided
right
me
here.
to here and
Yes.
gave me, you know, what I needed to do this. So I don't feel stress. I just feel like it's happening the way it should.
yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's so good. That's
Yeah.
so wonderful.
I think for me, when I walked in this episode knowing that it was going to be about hair, I was like, I'm going to sit back because I have no hair. But, so, you know, like that's one of the things I've really just loved hearing a lot of these stories as well. And so going back to one of the things you said about trust with hair, trust with anything is of the utmost important. In Melbourne, I've only had one barber that I trust do my beard for the last 3 years. A couple of weeks ago, he was busy. He was out sick. And I'm like, oh, I've got this big event coming and I had to get my beard done. I went to a popular barber down the street. And he fucked my shit up so bad.
Oh, no.
He fucked it up so bad. 'Cause
Oh gosh, was this recent?
this was like a month ago. This was like a month or two ago. And it was just, even back home, when I had hair, I only let my stepdad do it just because going into those barbershop
Yeah.
spaces were very odd and uncomfortable for a queer person as well. Going to black barbershops are usually, I don't want to say homophobic, but they're homophobic.
Yeah.
So being
They're
queer
toxic.
in those spaces
Yeah,
and
toxic mask vibes.
Yeah.
exactly that. And they're like, oh, you got a girlfriend, you got this.
Yeah,
I'm like,
talking about pussy.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, honestly, though, it's that.
But that's really what
That's
it is.
literally what it is. Anytime going
Yeah.
into a space where you feel comfortable to get your hair done, beard done, where they don't cut you while they're shaving because they don't know what to do with curly hair. One side was longer than the other one because they just didn't. So it's of the utmost important that you're doing this. And like, I'm obviously grateful. Obviously, you won't be able to help me with my hair, but I do love that the impact that you're so passionate about and that you're actually spreading this and teaching other people
Yes.
to do so. And it's just
Thank you.
absolutely wonderful.
I thank you for sharing that. I had a beautiful renter chair. Her name's Claudia. She's Māori and she worked at Elvies for a couple of months and we cried when she left. Like we all cried so hard. We love her so much. She fitted so well at Elvies because she grew up in community. So she understood, she was no ego. Even though she'd worked in the industry, she wasn't caught up in all the bullshit. She wanted to be in a space like ours that appreciated and respected the things that we do. And she was calling out a lot of white women in white hair
Oh,
salons.
good for her.
She's so fierce and I love her because she helped me to believe in my abilities as well and has been in touch with me since she's left. So she and her fiance have gone off or have been in Europe, and just recently I found out that she's come back. And she asked me if she could come back to Elvies. I'm like, of course.
I love that.
That's so good.
So she's come back for a month, I think. She's the one who's been really passionate about creating this anti-racist approach to hairdressing. Our goal is to actually create anti-racist approach to not only hairdressing, but barbering, to any sort of beauty space. So whether it be lashes, brows, tooth gems, nails, we want to create an education that can be either studied online. We're not so sure how we're going to roll it out yet, but we want to infiltrate and go across the board.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Oh, that's going to be
create
so great.
safe spaces, yeah.
That's so good. That's going to be so great. I'm glad you're going to have her back in.
I'm so glad.
For sure.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're going to have the help.
And that's what I need.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad you're going to have the help
That's
you
the
need.
whole thing.
Yeah.
Hey, because I said that to her when she left. I said, I wish I could clone you. I need so many more of you.
Oh, yeah.
So for this Learn Elvies event coming up, I'm going to be sponsored by Organic Suku.
Oh,
Lani
love
from
that.
Organic Suku, which will be
Brilliant.
amazing. So Lani's an amazing product designer. Her product is lifted from her cultural roots, and she is very passionate about providing hair and makeup artists and freelance artists with the right products to be able to create the styles and the hair care that we deserve. And it's all organic, cold pressed, single origin oils, as well as an aloe vera gel. And she's now developing
The
a
aloe vera
basin
gel,
service.
that has, my curls are busting with
Yes.
that aloe vera gel.
The aloe vera
I'm going
gel.
to need that.
Yes, it's amazing. But
Yes.
I've just been trialing.
Yes.
She's got the 4-step basin service, so cleansing service. So you do a pre-shampoo, which is a detangler.
Need that,
spray.
yes.
Amazing.
Need it.
First one is a clarifying cleanse. Second shampoo, moisturizing shampoo.
Oh, my gosh.
This stuff feels like velvet. It goes
my
into the
God.
hair and it just softens
Add it to cart.
it.
Go ahead.
Add it to cart.
Add to cart.
Next step, deep conditioner for light and for heavy. So you can choose.
Ooh. Yes.
I've been using it on every client. One of them's got like a peppermint scent. It's, yeah.
I want to smell like a peppermint patty.
Absolutely.
I want to smell like peppermint.
We all do.
Yes. I want to smell nice.
We want to smell fresh.
I want to smell fresh. I want to smell edible.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah.
So, yeah, excited about that. And then
Yes.
also being supported by an incredible hairdresser who now owns their own salon called Rain Salon and Retreat. They have a few different things happening in their space, really inspired by her. She's been in the industry for over 17 years and has won every award under the sun.
Damn, that's awesome.
She's incredible. She's very well linked in and networks with everybody and knows everybody and is going to help me. She's a true ally. She's a Pakistani in heritage, and she said to me she knows what it's like to be a brown face in a really white room.
Yes.
And she's also very passionate about issues around wellness and body positivity. She's a bigger woman and she just is so, yeah. And when she washed my hair the other day, she was like, and I want you to take a deep breath.
Well, not the ASMR as well. I was like, oh, yes.
And I want you to relax your jaw.
Oh, yes.
So next time I wash your hair at Elvies,
Listen.
I'm going to be like, I want you to just drop your shoulders.
Oh, my gosh.
Now we're going to take another deep breath and we're going to relax our jaw.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I'm giving you a
yes.
head massage.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because.
So thanks.
Oh
Shout out to
my God.
Charlene.
Yeah, shout out to Charlene because that is so needed, so necessary because my jaw be sounding like popcorn as soon as like I start to relax. 'Cause that thing be tense. That be tense. I'm like, why does the stress have to live in my jaw? Why can't it live in my abs or some shit useful? I don't know.
I don't think that's useful.
I was something. Yeah, crack some walnuts with it, just a little bit of something. And another one of the topics that I wanted us to talk about together, because it was one of the things that I was asked when I had first moved here, where, once again, people don't know. And then as soon as they meet a person of color, they're like, I got to ask you this thing. Cultural appropriation when it comes to hairstyles. Because they were like, it was 3 girls asking me, because I guess it was trending in the news at the time, or maybe it just got over here. And they were just like, yeah, I wanted to put my hair in like braids. They were just talking about like 2 French braids, but they're like, but I heard that braids are just like a black thing. And I thought I was going to be called racist for having braids in my hair. And I was just like, oh my God, okay, got to walk this all the way back. So for those listening who don't necessarily understand what cultural appropriation is, it's about taking something from a culture that doesn't belong to you and appropriating it in the wrong way. There ain't nothing wrong with putting braids in your hair. Box braids, however, you don't need to be putting box braids in your hair. Your hair texture cannot handle that.
So go bald if you want to.
Yeah,
but.
pretty much. I always say, I've seen girls on TikTok, they put box braids in their hair and they're like, oh, what are y'all going to cancel me? And I just comment, your scalp is going to cancel you before I ever could. And that's the truth.
Receding.
Like,
Goodbye.
for real, because your hair texture is not meant for this kind of thing.
Good point. I have my feelings. So when I started Elvies, I had some pretty clear boundaries, very severe ones, you know. I truly believe that there are certain hairstyles that are just not for anybody else.
Yeah.
But I had she's not Ethiopian, it's the country next door, Eritrean.
I was going to say Eritrea, but I was just like,
she's
I didn't have a map
Eritrean,
in my brain.
And I love her. She's amazing. She's got her own business now. She's a crazy braider, beautiful soul. And she said to me, Ella, when I do these braids on people, I'm sharing my culture with them. And I said, okay, if you feel like that and you want to give a white girl some box braids, that's your choice.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like those people who do choose to have those styles are shaming themselves. You know, they're doing it to themselves.
Yeah.
I can't police too much, but I also couldn't have her working at Elvies anymore because of some of those beliefs that we didn't really align with.
Yeah.
I personally could not have a white person in my salon getting locks.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about locks next.
Yeah, that is a...
Oh no, like that. When white people have locks, they just look dirty. Like it looks like they stink, and
they do.
It's
not just their hair; it's their souls that stink. And I'm saying that because honestly, and I'm going to say this too, I'm not necessarily, and look, maybe people will think that I'm being racist or derogatory when I say this, but I think there's a lot of spiritual people out there who are, you know, at places like Burning Man.
Yeah, like music festivals and things like that.
Like hippies, I'm going to say it, hippies, they're searching for their identities. And for some reason, they believe that having locks is part of that journey for them.
Yeah.
Even though they don't have any cultural significance connected with any sort of place.
Yeah.
There's no connection.
There isn't a
Let
connection.
go.
Let
go.
Your hair is not supposed to do that.
You are not that person. I just find it like they're lost. They're so lost. And I find it offensive. I actually find that part offensive.
Yeah, because I was shocked because, I mean, apart from the mullets that are here, you'll see quite a few people walking around with locks. And I understand people will be like, well, I don't understand. It's just a hairstyle.
Yeah, but them as white, they're judged and they're told that it's cool. They don't think about the history of these experiences. They don't think about the individuals who have gone through. It was life and death for some people. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? And the fact that they don't unpack or go back to history where it started and they don't look into that. I even educate when people come into my space, especially young guys, and they're like, I want starter locks. I will ask them, why are you choosing the lock life?
Yeah. And then it'll be like, because the look, it's cool.
It's probably linked with a rapper, right?
Yeah.
They want to look like a rapper or something.
Yeah. Something trendy.
And I'll say, look, let's Google, get your phone out. What is the origins of locks and having locks? What does it mean spiritually? What does it mean for somebody who has a style they never change? You know what I mean? It's commitment. And so we kind of go through it together and I introduce them to that idea of it being more than just hair.
Yeah, it is. It is so much more than just hair because in the States, they have just, maybe a few years ago, maybe 2019, they just passed the Crown Act. Because Black people, we were being discriminated for having our hair in a natural state where we were denied employment because of it. And locks were a part of that coming into law because people are just like, well, it's unprofessional. And how is somebody's hair being in a natural state? How is that? What does that have to do with anything of them being able to do their job? And I was literally just listening to something today about a woman dealing with her son being suspended from school because he has locks. A child, like 16 years old, has never caused a problem, straight A's, but because he has locks in his hair, they've suspended him from school. And it hasn't done anything. It hasn't harmed anybody. But the reason why we have such strong feelings about other people just throwing in this hairstyle because they think it's trendy and everything like that, they don't understand the history behind it.
Absolutely.
They don't understand the discrimination that takes place of the people who are, it's natural for us to have our hair in a lock state, but people are persecuted because of it. And they will never understand that kind of persecution.
No.
They will never understand it.
No. I'm talking about white people who have locks. Mm-hmm. It's their identity. It's what they feel and believe makes them cool, valued, spiritual, connected. They've got it all wrong.
Yeah.
Harsh as it might be, they need to do some work on themselves.
Totally.
Because, like you just said, they don't understand the history. They're not going through the same experience as black people and even Pacific Islanders do, because if they have locks, it's a completely different experience.
Yes.
And it's entitlement.
It's entitlement.
Interestingly, I heard some hairdressers call cornrows festival braids.
Oh, no.
On white girls, it's festival braids, but on the rest of us, it's cornrows.
Oh, my God.
And I just was like, oh, of course. Let's give these hairstyles a new name so we can get away with wearing them. I went to a festival quite a few years back and had to leave because I saw people walking around with penis gourds carrying bows and arrows.
Wait.
A penis gourd is a sort of...
I'm Googling
it.
I'm Googling. My search history, penis, gourd.
So it's in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. In certain tribes, they wear something on the end of their penis, and it's traditional cultural wear. And
is that
yes, it is.
Okay.
So I went to a festival where I saw people who were not Papua New Guinean wearing that exact outfit.
Oh my gosh.
Now, it's not an outfit, it's traditional
like
dress.
A tribal dress. Oh my God.
Yes.
At a music festival?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not surprised. It's just disappointing.
Oh my gosh.
And that wasn't just them. It was like so many other people. And they were walking with a woman who had body paint all over her. And I just said to my friend, can we go? And we drove all the way home. We even got a speeding fine on the way back.
Y'all were getting
we
the
were
fuck
like, get
out
the
of
fuck
there.
out of there.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing, they're lost.
That's
they're
so
lost.
crazy. You know what? That is such a great example because something about music festivals when people feel the need to wear Native American hairdresses and like things like that.
Why?
Like tribal things. That is it's so crazy. It should be studied. Yeah, I wonder why that is.
I mean, we literally saw it listen out. When I went to go look for you, because we went to a festival 2 weekends ago, and there were 3 stages. One stage was EDM house situation. One stage was roughly R&B. Like there are a few mixes inside, and then the other one's pop culture music. Nicole went to go see someone early, and I met you there.
Yeah.
But I went to go find Nicole, and I'm like, oh, let me go look in this crowd. And the way in which I walked into this crowd, and they wanted to be black so bad. They wanted to be black so bad, and there were some people you could look at them. They're like, oh. There's black people here. They just stood up. They changed what they were doing. I'm like, okay, so now that I'm here, you're operating differently. But the way you're dressed, I'm looking at you, and I can tell right now you grew up in Paran. So like, let's stop playing games.
There's that. There is fashion and how black fashion, everything about what black people have created, ways of self-expression, have been appropriated by white and European people.
And then given a different name.
Given a different name.
Is so nuts.
Given a label of like cool. It annoys me too. I mean, I was behind some teens up an escalator today that one of them was carrying a speaker playing hip hop music. They're all white kids. And I just got uncomfortable. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
They're not even aware. They're not aware.
Yeah. Is a
I'm
disconnect.
not saying they're not allowed to listen to it. I'm just saying like...
If they were a different race, they would be asked to stop or asked to leave.
Exactly. Imagine if they were South Sudanese kids walking or whoever.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Just because I'm mentioning them because I know that they've copped it a lot.
Yeah.
I've heard statistics from youth workers that they're sort of dominating certain spaces in terms of alternative education settings and the justice system. And it's really sad and it's really unfair. But like if they were behaving that way...
Yeah.
You're exactly right. They'd be treated differently.
Policed. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be policed. Exactly. Yes. They'd be followed through the shopping centre.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And checked on.
And that's the issue. It's like different sets of rules for different people. Or it's just the rules in general applying to some, but not all.
Bringing it back to hairdressing, where I get really frustrated with avant-garde hair being cornrows, braids, straight hair being like figure 8 wound around a hairpin to create frizzy and textured afro. That sort of shit pisses me off. You've got models out there with that texture.
With that natural texture.
Why aren't you using them?
Just hire them, and they're not hired at the same rate. That's the whole thing.
Because they can make straight hair black.
Yeah.
But they can't make black hair black.
Yeah. It's just, woo, exactly. That's where the frustration comes from. Just hire somebody with that. It's just like when certain actors or certain roles, they'd be like, well, we're just going to hire this person and then we're just going to darken their skin. We're going to give them a tan. We're just going to assign them.
Aladdin. I spray tanned all of the... I spray tanned ensemble on Aladdin.
Oh,
Yeah, no, you could tell. Like, I saw Aladdin. When I first got here, I was on like the second or third row, and I'm like, huh.
I remember how it jolted me because I'm sure that there are people out there who could perform these roles.
Yeah.
Like the musical theatre industry is so elitist. I think acting can be the same in a lot of ways where POC and BIPOC people have not had the same access to
not the same opportunities.
And do you know what I'm loving? I'm loving seeing this all-black gymnastics team over in the States at the moment.
Oh, my God. Shout out to Simone Biles.
Oh, my God. Simone Biles, I love you.
Girl.
I love you.
If you're listening.
Literally. And, like, these black boys.
Yeah, yes.
I'm like, fuck yeah. You show them. You guys are out there flipping at your athletic sports comps and in the backyard. It's not even hard for them at all. I don't want to say that they didn't train really hard to get such incredibly clean and beautiful ability in the way that athleticism,
incredible.
Like they're such elite sports people, but they're also so natural. And I love seeing them taking over in every space. I love to see it. Like
me too.
Yeah.
Just love seeing black people win.
So do I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I love it.
I just wanted to thank you so much for your time and just taking the time to come to us and explain what it is that you do. And thank you so much for the community that you're creating. Thank you for the impact that you've had in my life and making my life easier. And I'm just so excited for your message to be spread. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to me and giving me an opportunity to share.
Of course. We are forever grateful. And if there's anything that pops up in the future, because ideally we'll be doing this for a while. So if you're like, actually, if your project comes along, you get more like information you want to share with us, by all means, let us know.
We're happy to support.
I'd
for
love
sure.
that. I can't wait to share this more on my platforms and maybe even use this episode as part of the resources for my education program. If you guys
that would be amazing.
give me permission.
We would love that. Absolutely.
Because they need to hear,
Please.
they need to hear your story and they need to also hear our candid, open honesty and our truth. And I got no shame in the way that I feel about things. And I feel like if I don't have this passion, like you were mentioning earlier, and if I don't stand strong in what I think and feel, then we're not going to see change happen.
We're not
standing your truth always.
Yes, absolutely. We're not the ones wrong. We can't make you feel comfortable about the oppression that it is that we're experiencing.
Correct.
That doesn't make any kind of sense. Be more upset at the behavior that's perpetuated, not us calling it out.
And that's a message I think that needs to be heard loud and clear. Our Indigenous people here in Australia.
Absolutely.
And for Palestine right now, Palestinian people right this minute, this whole message about us speaking up and defending ourselves, we should never, ever not be able to do that.
We should never, ever not be able to do that. Absolutely. So thank you so much, Ella, for joining us. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Rashard.
And this has been Melanated in Melbourne. See you guys soon. Bye. This has been Melanated in Melbourne, a podcast that analyzes the Australian lifestyle from the lens of two Black American besties. Follow us at Melanated in Melbourne on Instagram and TikTok. If you have any comments or questions you'd like to ask us, then email us at melanatedinmelbourne@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.